the reptile was one of his witching tools. Then, about 2 weeks later, some women were discovered wandering naked in the early hours of the morning, near Highfield. After being confronted by locals, they claimed they'd flown from a rural location during one of several nighttime escapades. But they said something went wrong and the spell, wore off before they could return to their original location. It says 4 years ago, the government proclaimed, wow, that's interesting. Listen to this. 4 years ago, the government proclaimed that supernatural powers do exist, but it says it still prohibits the use of magic if it harms someone. So let me stop here. So we know from previous episodes in which I've talked about the book Spiritual Warfare, as well as other references that we've used about when an area is just people are practicing the occult to such an extent, it does something to the land itself, to open it up as a portal, for every type of thing, every atrocity that you can think of because of the practicing of it. And it inspires in people through the demonic influences, through practicing the occult, it affects the people as well, of course. And it seems to me now, if someone were to hear goblins in Zimbabwe, I understand some people would laugh if they were not, that's kind of like a reflex in a way, like, what did you just say? And it does have that effect because I'd never heard of it. But then it kind of intrigued me, and it right away I was like, okay, I do believe that these people are seeing things, and it's taking the form of this, of goblins, these are evil spirits, these are demons. They themselves, in their language, particular dialect, the word means evil spirits. So yeah, and then what I was telling you before is that people are seeing them and they are invisible. Even in I don't know, was it the first or the second article, it was talking about that they start out in, you can't see them, but they make themselves visible, to those that they attack. And then that's how they come up with these descriptions, like the girls, the school girls at the high school, saying that it looked like dwarves, and then they took another form. That would be like shape-shifting, into looking like baboons, the article that I couldn't find, or the testimony, was talking about being invisible but moving things. That's how you knew they were there. So to me, this hands down is something that has to do with the demonic. It has to do with spiritual warfare, and by there having so many practitioners under the umbrella of witchcraft, I'm not an expert, but based on the things that I have studied and I've shared here about spiritual warfare from the book and other things, that would be my guesstimation, I guess, if you would call it that, But I find it interesting that it says 4 years ago, and this was done in 2010, the government proclaimed that supernatural powers, that they actually over there do exist. It goes on to say many Zimbabweans, especially those who grow up in rural areas, find it difficult to dismiss the existence of witchcraft. So then they give a testimony of someone, a gentleman who's 30 years old, and they said what Providence, where area that he lives in, and he explained that his wife is a vendor, and that her face had become contorted after she was bewitched, allegedly, by these rival vendors. He claimed she'd been running a successful sugar sale venture. Goes on to say from him, testimony, when she came to barter with rural folk, the trouble started. One of our neighbors requested sugar on credit and she refused them. Before the end of the day, she was bleeding from the nose, the mouth, and the ears, he says. Wow. And it goes on to say that he consulted a faith healer in order to cure her. Then another testimony of a gentleman that's 77 years old, okay, and they say what village he's from. He believes he was bewitched by his aunt while he was employed as a driver in the city 3 years ago. He says a turning point came in his life when he quit his job in order to return to village life. He says, I was the darling of the company management, and I did not realize I could have had, which is like a lot of people, I guess, could have some hidden enemies. He said, my aunt pretended to like me and gave me money to spend. My instinct told me to refuse. Okay, but I went against my better judgment and spent it. I was demoted and harassed constantly by my superiors, which never used to happen. I got the answers after visiting a traditional healer. Then another testimony from a woman who is 83 years old, and she is a traditional healer for her particular village. She says witchcraft is used in families for revenge and spite. She goes on to share that the frequency of recent reports on witchcraft indicates forces of good are triumphing over evil. She says that Zimbabweans should respect traditions by performing rituals favored by their forefathers. She says life was okay until some overambitious individuals went outside the country to get advice from traditional healers there on how to get rich quickly. Oh, okay. That is where the problem began, because they came back with remedies that are harmful to others. All this is now being exposed due to the powers of the spirits of our forefathers. Wow, okay. Then it goes on to say another testimonial from a member of, they're 33 years old, it's a female, of a particular faith sect. It says she believes the country would be better off without elevating the supernatural. She goes on to say that people should turn to God and seek salvation through Jesus Christ as a way of overcoming being susceptible to witchcraft. It goes on to even say further, the Christian church believes there's only a good spirit, meaning what is called the Holy Spirit, whereas witchcraft has origins in Satanism. And our last article we're going to look at is from the SundayMail.co.zw. Okay, and the article was done in 2015, April actually. It says finding the hub of Zim witchcraft, and this actually came up obviously when I looked up goblins in Zimbabwe. Now they're showing some pictures of like some kind of two types of statue. At first I thought was a person, but it's a statue. It says the cotton producing district in the Midlands, Providence, has become synonymous with witchcraft and the occult. I think I'm going to attempt to say the name Gokwe, Gokwe. I might be saying it wrong. This is a particular cotton producing district in this particular province, Midlands province, has become synonymous with witchcraft and the occult. So it's showing all over the world. Of course, this has been increasing and elevating. More and more practitioners, people becoming curious and becoming very deeply immersed into the occult. So it says, basing on the number of reported cases, Gokwe could easily compete with the lightning makers